everybody out in Nettie land. Happy New Year. You know, last time I talked to you, I was a little bit sick, and you know what? I'm getting better. And I took a few days off just to rest and recuperate. And I hope that if you've got, the winter cruds, it's a little more than cruds for me. But if you got the winter cruds, I hope you do take time to rest and recuperate and drink plenty of fluids. Okay, that's enough about that. Because, what is it? January 8th, I guess. 2020. 2020. Welcome to 2020. I always wanted to do that, but everybody else does too, so I'm a little late. But I'm going to be serious today. It's, when I had time to think and, watch a little bit of TV and watch the news, I found myself just kind of not wanting to pay any attention to anybody else. I started to worry. I started to worry about the state of humankind. Not so kind humans. Anyway, I think that there's a lot of worry in the world right now, and we're worried about the state of the world. We're worried about fires and earthquakes and gun violence and political issues, illnesses, cancer, diplomacy issues, a lack of respect for human beings. Oh, we have become the most disrespectful group of people I've ever met. And that saddens me. Because, I always like to turn my woes into joys. I do. And I like to be a first responder in love, but sometimes you have to take a little snapshot of what's really going on around you. And I think that we all have something in common. I think the manifestation of some of these icky, disrespectful ways we act has a lot to do with everybody being worried. And worry is another word for fear, right? Everybody is fearful. So I found this article on Facebook, and I read it, and I've reread it, and I've saved it to my computer, and I want to share it with you right now. Well, first I want to tell you a little bit about who wrote it. His name is Thich Nhat Hanh. Let me say that again because he's a very special person. His name is Thich Nhat Hanh. And he's a Vietnamese Zen Buddhist. And he let me read what it says. He's well known for his teachings of mindfulness, kindness, and compassion. I read that and I thought, oh, he could be my best friend. Really, because that's what Nettie wants to do in the world. Well, right now he's 93, and he was sent away from Vietnam because of his anti-war stance and a few other things, and he was welcomed back. And he decided that last year he wanted to move back to Vietnam and die where he was born. Well, he's 93 and still kicking, even though he had a stroke. But his words are so good for all of us. We have to understand that some of the greatest spiritual people in the world all align with one thing: love and love, which includes compassion, peace, kindness, all of those good things. So, he said this. Someone asked me, "Aren't you worried about the state of the world?" I allowed myself to breathe, and then I said, what is most important is not to allow your anxiety about what happens in the world to fill your heart. If your heart is filled with anxiety, you will get sick, and you will not be able to help. There are wars, big and small, in many places, and that can cause us to lose our peace. Anxiety is the illness of our age. We worry about ourselves, our family, our friends, our work, and the state of the world. If we allow worry to fill our hearts, sooner or later, we will get sick. Well, when I first read that, I wanted to call him up and say, hey, Thich, aren't we supposed to worry? Well, I think that if you would look it up, that medical, psychological, and spiritual experts all agree that worry is not productive. Nope. And it can really do damage to our health. And that's our physical health, our mental health, and our spiritual health. Pay attention to what's going on in your body if your heart is bothering you. And I mean your spirit. Pay attention to your mind when your spirit's wonky. When you're sick, is there something psychological or spiritual going on? Our body talks to itself. So you want to know what my answer is, right? Nettie, what's your big answer? Well, it's not my answer. Worry is about our thinking in this circular pattern. We just talk to ourselves and talk ourselves nuts. Like over and over again, we think about a situation and we go in circles and all we do is think about the problem. So if you become worried, you may be doing nothing and you may not want to do anything because you stew and chew on the issue. So that can interfere with our abilities to fight or freeze. So usually worry causes us to freeze in a place because we don't have any plan of action. It says if you change your words and attitude to concern, you become motivated to do something about it. So what's the difference? Concern is usually about others, where worry is a little bit self-centered because you stay in one place. Concern invites others in. It invites you to interact. It's a place where you're likely to seek help rather than sit in your own stew. Well, instead of stewing in a big pot like a chunk of chuck roast or something. There's really so much available on the internet that it helps you understand the difference between worry and concern. But let me give you a few things. I got a list right here. So, okay, here we go. Characteristics of concern: 1 is focused on others, but worry is self-centered. Concern motivates us to serve, but worry puts up barriers that keep us from serving. Concern promotes constructive action, but worry often paralyzes us. Concern is usually welcomed by most. I mean, some people don't want you to bug into their business anyway, but definitely worry is not necessarily welcomed by others because, it's your worry becomes their worry, and then they have to figure out if they're worried or concerned. Concern is driven by love, but worry is driven by fear. It is fear-based. When we're concerned, our goal is to help. When we're worried, we don't have a goal because we're sitting in that stew pot, right? So concern strengthens relationships when worry tends to weaken relationships. I mean, you start isolating yourself. And concern is tempered with faith, but worry overwhelms faith with doubt. So worry is when concern just kind of crosses the line and becomes more about control and safety than it is about the well-being of another person. That's right. Fear is a motivator of worry, but love is the motivator of concern. That's really important. I want to make something very clear. Now, there is something called anxiety and panic disorder, and certainly if it's like a clinical condition that can be helped by professionals, medication, counseling, all of the above. And I am not here and not qualified or equipped to counsel those with anxiety and panic disorders. Jimmy told me that's a disclaimer, but I call it a claimer. I'm claiming that I want to help, but I'm not qualified in some areas. Those of us who recognize that we are worried all the time can choose concern over worry. It's got to be a choice first, that we want to be able to do something about our circumstances, or even if it's something in the big world where decisions are being made to drop bombs or something, there's still something we can do. There is. I have one little piece of advice regarding all of this. And it's about something that happened to me, and it started my journey on learning what I could do in life and what I can't, and how to put myself into action, even if it was the littlest action. So there was a very devastating time, and someday Nettie's going to share that, because I think once we pulled ourselves through something, depression, or being out of work, or losing everything we own, those are the times when we have a choice. And so there was one of those times. And I found myself searching and praying everywhere I looked. I was looking for a way to get back on track. And just by accident, it wasn't an accident, my answers to prayers and the searching just randomly appeared. And it was just a little quote by Teddy Roosevelt. And I kind of shortened it to, don't think about what you can't do, think about what you can do. I thought, well, Teddy, that's easy enough for you to say. But Nettie needed to grab onto that. That empowered me to get up every single morning and at least think about what I could do, even if I didn't feel I could do it yet. Because when you're in a place where you feel helpless and powerless, it can lead to depression, and it can lead to just this place where you freeze. So if you at least take the step to think about something you can do, that's empowering right there. And soon my mantra became, do what you can do, not what you can't do. And I would say that to myself. I would get up to do something and think, oh, I can't do that. But you know what? I could think about what steps I could take to do what I eventually wanted to do. And when I tell you that story, it'll be a little deeper, but let's just start with this. Once I grabbed onto that, I had been not eating very well and eating out of depression. I had been not exercising, and I had been kind of idle. So once I grabbed onto this idea that I should put away what I can't do and start doing something one little step at a time, I started eating better. I went to exercise. I started losing weight, and I started figuring out all the bigger steps I wanted to take. And suddenly I wasn't anxious anymore. And when Thich says anxiety is the illness of the world, he's right, because anxiety comes from worry, not concern. And anxiety, be it clinical or be it caused by environmental issues that we have no kind of control over, it is a killer. It is going to affect your heart. It is going to affect your psychological well-being and your body. And your spirit. But you know what? I think it is spirit that is the one that grasps onto concern. It is our upbringing in compassion and kindness and love that helps us turn the corner and separate worry from concern. Instead of being concerned about my well-being or my lack of well-being, I become concerned about the well-being of everybody. I first love myself by putting away that anxiety and saying, you don't work for me. Get thee behind me. That's right. So once we get that, we realize that all we're doing by taking one step at a time is lighting one candle at a time, lighting up our hearts and our mind. We have to be the light in the world. And you start with yourself. Light a candle for your anxiety. Put it out. Put it out. Then relight that candle for your concern for self and others. And think of one thing you can do. And you know what? The one thing you can do is pass the light on. It can just be at the grocery store. You can say to the clerk, you are doing such a good job. Thank you for being here. You can smile at somebody on the street. If you're on Facebook, post something positive every day. Be the light. Because once you do, others are going to pick up that light. And you know what they're going to do? They're going to be empowered to pass their light on. You know, we are all bigger than the negative in the world. Love always wins. It's true. And I am impassioned by that thought. Make it your passionate goal to prove to the world that love always wins. As we take our steps one step at a time to light up the world, the darkness is going to fall out. The ideas that are negative are going to fall off one at a time. And people are going to give in, because in all of history, as bad as it's ever been, love has rose to the top, or risen to the top. Love has risen to the top. My concern is for those who are giving up on love. My concern are for those who decide power is much more important than love, because they're going to get stuck there. And the world that is anxious is not productive. A world that is worried is going to sit and stew and chew. So my faithful followers, start with your own heart, with your own body, with your own mind. Light up the world from a place of empowerment, from a place of concern. Take action. Take action. We are here to be first responders in love. And when we do that, we are the light. Carry your light out into the world. Don't be crappy, be happy. Don't be worried, be concerned. Nettie loves you. If you or a loved one find yourself overwhelmed with anxiety, it might be time to talk to someone. There are plenty of loving, wonderful experts out there ready to help you. Give them a call. And if you need some encouragement to do that, please feel free to private message me or email me at nettiefitzenpitley@gmail.com. I'm ready to help. Nettie loves you.
Go light your world.